The next big PlayStation 5 exclusive for this year is going to be Ghostwire Tokyo, and honestly, I've been playing this game non-stop. I'm currently working on a massive review where I want to try and finish every single side quest, find every single item, and master every single piece of magic to do basically everything in the game itself. But today, the developers have said I'm allowed to talk about the opening chapters of this experience, talking about the first 5 hours or so of the game, and so far what's good and what's bad. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and these are some brutally honest impressions. Now, first and foremost, what is Ghostwire Tokyo? In a way, it feels like a mysterious magic first-person shooter with a lot of different ghosts. Suddenly, in the middle of the depths of Japan, this fog has rolled in and caused everybody to vanish. And now, in the empty streets of this place, suddenly these monsters are beginning to roam around. Now, these could be things from all sorts of different mythology. Faceless businessmen, tiny headless schoolgirls that laugh as they fight you, or even just weird floating dolls and stuff. And during the course of this, you have to fight very hard to survive. We're playing as a person who just got stuck in this entire situation purely by good, or maybe you would consider it bad luck. We're just some guy who randomly gets possessed by a spirit called KK. Now, KK didn't save you purely out of the goodness of his heart. Instead, he is seeking revenge. It feels like there's some sort of big rivalry at the heart of this game itself. Some creature or some person is caused this mysterious disappearance, this guy in a mask. Now, in the first 5 hours, I still don't know who this guy is. I don't know how he managed to unleash the gates of hell, but it's our job to figure it out and hopefully defeat him. In Ghostwire, it feels like the city of Tokyo is also a character in the story, because basically it is our job to try and cleanse it, which means you're going to be doing things like praying at shrines to open up more parts of the map. You're going to be scaling buildings and trying to magically glide to different locations, and sometimes just getting into some very sloppy mystical fights. Let's talk about the gameplay loop. Ghostwire Tokyo, in some aspects, is a very stereotypical open world experience. Basically, you're constantly needing to push back that evil fog. That basically is toxic because you are currently half human and half spirit. Every time you cleanse one of these big shrines, it pushes it back a couple more blocks, allowing you to explore, to get more collectibles, and to do a lot of the side quests. Now, currently, I've been trying to do everything in the game. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, a lot of the side quests are something I'm enjoying a lot because they're these little tiny, completely freestanding stories. I've done things like find somebody's cursed spirits that can't actually go to the afterlife because you need to find some lost memento. You need to try and defeat one of their final enemies, or sometimes just things like there was this guy who was worried about basically water spirits, so I ended up having to cleanse a very corrupted bathhouse. Now, each of these plays out in a very different style because, honestly, this game, as bizarre as this feels to explain it this way, it feels like a constant murder mystery. It always feels like there is a direct problem in front of you. So sometimes these quests are just having you search for clues or trying to track down some sort of mystical footprints to figure out what happened in a case that maybe has already been lost. Now, each of these is fun, but let's talk about the combat, because each of these definitely ends pretty much the same way. A lot of times, once you get to the end of these mysteries, it's usually just fighting waves and waves of enemies. Now, you can play this game with 3 different elemental types. So far in the game, I've actually unlocked wind magic, which basically lets you do a bunch of medium attacks, basically blasting people with finger guns. There's water attacks, which I guess I would describe as like an aqua shotgun. This is a shorter range attack, but it blasts forward, and if you charge it up, it actually does like a cutting motion. And then there's fire magic, which is kind of like throwing grenades. Now, this is a bit more like detailed in the corner of the screen, but you'll notice that I get different amounts of ammunition for each of these. So while you're exploring, you'll come across these items that they just say are charged up from the other side, which I don't really know what that means, but when you punch them, they become more magic energy. It lets you basically get more chances to dish out your big special attacks. Now, in some situations, you don't have to go in guns blazing. You can actually sneak up on enemies and rip out their core. I don't know why, but these ghosts actually have like an energy center, and whenever you weaken them, you could rip it out for a free heal and some free ammunition. So if you manage to get somebody undetected, you can kill them before they see you. You do also have a bow and arrow, but I haven't had a chance to use it much. Maybe I'm going to get some bow and arrow special attacks, but in the first 5 hours, pretty much everything got solved by wind, fire, or water. I'm enjoying stuff so far because the gameplay loop itself is fun. It's nice to keep unlocking chunks of the city, but honestly, what I enjoy the most is just the fact that while I'm tinkering around, while I'm just trying to explore this town, I keep seeing different cool little details. Lots of like trash cans full of money, hidden side objectives, times when I'm just wandering down an alley and I find a random kitten that needs some cat food, or a dog I can read its mind and see that it's upset. I really enjoy the fact that it feels like Ghostwire Tokyo cares about the spirit of Tokyo. But that does bring me to the part of this game that so far I am not enjoying. There is a lot of visions, I guess you'd call them. The developers aren't letting me show them in this preview parts that I'm doing today, but basically, occasionally in the story, you'll have these very clunky dream sequences that are very conceptual. You'll be worrying about a lost family member and they'll be enshrouded in fire, and it feels overly artsy to me. In a game that's trying to convey so much information and honestly conveying so much mythology that I'm not personally familiar with, it feels a little bit silly to have so much try and be shrouded in extra layers of unnecessary mystery. I am enjoying the game, and I do think it's interesting that I can fly for a bit. Like, if there are these spirits called Tengu that are on the top of buildings, you basically do like a ghost grapple hook, get up there and can glide from place to place. Ghostwire Tokyo, even now just 5 hours into it, I don't really know what the heck is going on. I kind of like the fact that even as I'm trying to do my best to save the world, I don't know if the world is screwed or it's just me. And I really dig that. Okay, so as I record this video, I'm just a few chapters into the game itself. I will be posting a full review very, very soon, but as of now, what do you think about Ghostwire? Do you think you're going to pick it up, or does this seem like something that's not for you? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and please, if you enjoyed this video, please give this a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. So it feels totally weird. Today is March 7th. By the time I actually upload this video, I'll have already beaten it. So time travel. This is a video filmed weeks ago, and in the future, you're going to see all the goodies of this game. I'm excited to talk about this. Oh, I'm excited to beat the game. I got to get back to it.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.